All right, Wounded Knee acoustic version. This one is a banger. Let's check it out. All right. So there's two things that I want to point out. First is that melody at the beginning. This one. All right, so that is an E, E, D, and A, and then followed by, actually it's E, D, A, D, and then followed by a C, B flat, and an F. Now that outlines two chords, right? So the E, D, A is found in a D sus2 chord, which is one of the two major chords or main chords in that opening. There's actually three chords. There's a last chord we'll get to in a minute. But the majority of it is made up of a D sus2, and then that second part of that riff, F, B flat, C, B flat, F, is in a B flat sus2 chord. So between that D sus2, B flat sus, you've got the chords and the melody there. Now, I'm explaining this for a really good reason, because if you want to preserve the song, you got to preserve the melody. So that melody can be found and performed here. By the way, doesn't that remind you of a that reminds me of Careless Whisper. But anyway, the melody from this can be performed on an acoustic. So what I'm going to show you here is that if you make that D sus2 chord, right, the notes E, D, A are found here. E, D, A in the chord. And the second half of that riff, C, B flat, F. God, it really sounds like Careless Whisper, man. Those three notes are found here, C, B flat, F. So what you can do is, in that intro, there's these two chords, D and B flat, the sus2 chords, are repeated three times. The fourth time they repeat, it punctuates with a C7. So you have what I would do is something kind of like, get that, try to find a way to get that melody in there through the picking. And you'll notice that when he brings the guitar in on the song, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. Very 80s. But we love it. So you have the opportunity to preserve that melody. Right. So practice that and work that into your arrangement of this song. And I think it's really important to keep that melody in here because, right, the melody is the song. That's the whole point. So the intro then is three times D to B flat, and then after the third time, the fourth time, we get a C7 thrown in there just before we go to the verse. The verse starts in D, so it's kind of a walk up there, right? So let's just take a listen to this. So you can, that C7 is, it's hard to pick out, but it's in there, trust me. So what you could do if you want to keep it super simple, just play this. You know, you don't have to get fancy with the picking or any of that stuff. Just make it sound the way you want it to sound. Okay, so that's our intro, which is going to lead us to our verse. Now our verse is going to start on a D also. So let's just listen to that really quick, and then we'll break it down. All right, real easy verse, really cool. And we are starting off in D here. So it's actually a D sus4. It's that same chord if you make a D here and you put your pinky. The worst guitar chord ever, right? Just because it's overused. And that doesn't really sound good to me much really either. This is the very Van Halen, the Unchained Chord, right? So it starts off with a D sus2 to a D, B flat. Now that chord there is a C7 sus4. So you get a rhythm that sounds kind of like. You can play here, the B flat, I usually play as a sus2, and then you go to that C7 sus4. So that's basically just a C power chord, make it into a 7, and then bring your pinky up to bring that sus4 in there. On the record, that chord sounds like a C11 chord, which is impossible to play on guitar, I think, because it's got a C, a D, an E, a G, an F, and a B flat in it, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So this C7 sus4 was as good as I could get something that still has a pretty wide variety of notes. You know, you got a C, you've got a G, a B flat, an F. So it maintains some of the qualities of a C11 chord, and it sounds perfect here, I think, for an acoustic version. So let's take a listen to that, and we'll play over it. Now, you notice at the end, we go to a B chord, a B major. So let's talk briefly about harmony here. So we started the song with that D sus2 to B flat, and then we ended with that C7. How can we look at this harmonically? Well, you could say that it's a major 1 here on the D, because it's a sus2, it's not really minor, it's not really major, but it sounds more major. Let's be real, right? It sounds more like a major chord than a minor chord. Sus2, sus4 always sounds more major than minor to my ears, at least, and I think probably to yours. So if we call that a 1 in D, well, then B flat and C don't fit in D major, right? You have a B and a C sharp in D major. So we could say that the B flat and C are basically borrowed chords from D minor, which has a B flat and a C. Could also look at it as a modal mixture of Ionian and Aeolian, which is major and natural minor. So I would probably look at it like a modal mixture. Then we come into the verse, which is really the same thing, right? You got a D sus4 D down to the B flat to the C7 sus4, which is really a C major variant. So you can again say that we're in a modal mixture here of, you know, D major for the opening chord, and then borrowed chords, or, you know, switching, you know, or mixing the mode to the natural minor there. So when we end that verse on a B, well, there's not a B major in D natural, you know, the diatonic D major chord. There is a B minor. There's not a B major. So here, that chord is going to be interesting because of what happens after it. But in terms of overall harmony, it's again that that B chord there is a major 6 chord, right? So you're instead of having a D natural, you've got a D sharp in there, or an E flat. So, you know, look, I wouldn't overanalyze it, but it's nice to talk about. But that B there to me is more significant for what happens after it than its context within D modal, you know, a modal analysis of what happens around the key center of D. But it is interesting. So we've got our verse, that beginning that. You might want to just experiment with how you want to play that rhythm on that there, that there. Or how you play the rhythm on the whole thing, right? Figure that out for yourself. Just listen to the record and make it sound good to your ears. So we're now on a B natural, or you know, B major here, before we go to our verse. So let's take a quick listen to that. Let's rewind it a little bit in the, before we go to our chorus, excuse me. Let's rewind the verse a little bit. We'll listen through the chorus and then we'll figure out just what the heck's going on. All right, so now we go to some very familiar chords. Out of that B major, we land on an E minor, D over F sharp, G, A major, or if you want to play sus2 there, I play it as just like a power chord basically, and then a B, a D sus2, and back to a B. So let me just play that for you real quick. So we'll come out of I'll play a little bit of the verse and then I'll run through the chorus. So we'll just do the last part of the verse and jump into the chorus. Hold on. A little sloppy there, but it works. So just need to rewind that a little bit back to the beginning of our chorus because we're going to talk about that again. So here, that B, right, that B there goes to an E minor. Well, B to E, that's a very common, as you all probably know, it's real common in music and in guitar, right? Because E and B are very closely related. E is the fourth of B, B is the fifth of E. So what you could say here is you have a dominant chord. The B there could be used as a dominant going back to its 1 chord. Now I know that it should be a major, but you know, it's still a 5-1 resolution, even though it is going to a minor chord. So you could look at it that way. So now we're in the key of E minor, but actually I think I would call this E Dorian. I'll tell you why. So the chords, E minor, F sharp, G, and A. Now that A is not an A minor there as it should be in the key of E minor. It's an E A major with a C sharp in it. If you raise the 6th degree of the E minor scale, you get E Dorian. So that's a way you could look at that. But then you get a B chord in there again, which is again not part of E minor. That should be a minor there. So it's a major 4 and a major 5. So again, we go to the idea of modal mixture. You could say that instead of it being Dorian, that you're borrowing the major 4 and major 5 from E major. So modal mixture on D in the intro verse, modal mixture on E here between minor and major a little bit. There's many ways you can analyze this stuff, guys. Analysis is very subjective, and often it sometimes means nothing, because if you're just following a melody, then it is what it is. But it's cool to be, and I love talking about this stuff, right? I love analysis videos. Everybody loves Rick Beato, right? So
what do you think we are, nerds?
that's what's happening there. Now, a few notes about that verse, okay, performance-wise, and let's just play through it one more time, and then I'll give you some tips on how you can really ramp this up on an acoustic guitar. Okay, so E, D over F sharp, G, real simple, A. I love the way then he goes to that B and he holds that B. I love that. Okay, now what you could do is you could just slide that up to the D and then back down to the B. So you get something like this. You could do that. I think it sounds way more powerful to get that big D in there, because this song, you know, the verse is that it's pretty mellow, you know, and the chorus is really big. You know, Nik loves dynamics, so you got this huge chorus. Really dig into those chords. So that's my thought there. Get that D sus in there. Now, I would probably play this as a B sus2 here. Don't play this as a B major. I don't think. It's my opinion. It sounds a lot better as a B sus2 chord on an acoustic guitar. That's my advice to you there. Now, some of you may be saying, okay, the second time you plays that B, it's not a B, it's an inversion. It's a B over D sharp, and you would be right. If you listen to the song, okay, here's what actually happens on the record. So the chorus starts on the... is that right? Yeah. That chord there, it's a B with a D sharp in the bass. D sharp is the third of B, so you'd have that chord. Now, the reason why I'm going to tell you not to do that here is because it just doesn't sound great, and also the third is what he's singing over that chord there. So the replacement of that inverted chord is your voice plus that B chord, right? Right there, you hear it? That's it right there. So it's in there with your voice. And I never sing properly on these videos. I mostly can't. Family's asleep, and you know, you're not here to hear me sing. So that's, you know, fun to talk about. So figure out for yourself what you want to do with that there. There. And then at the end of that verse, at the last B, we come back into a but we come back into an intro there. All right, so let's just do this. Let's just play the verse, the chorus, and then just jump back into the verse, so you can just make sure you're happy with that transition, and then we'll go a little further with it. And on an A, right, so the second time in the verse, god damn it, I always keep saying this. Second time in the chorus ends on an A and goes back to the D. Now that's a great transition, right? A to D, because A is the 5 of D, right? So it's a 5-1 kind of resolution. Very cool. So then we go through another verse chorus, and we come to a bridge. And this is where it starts to get even, it starts to get kind of wacky here at the bridge. So let me scoot forward here. Please bear with me as I find the bridge. All right, here we are. All right, now let's just listen to this. All right, we're at 1 minute 25, 27. Here's the bridge. Definite key change, right? And then we have a solo. All right, we'll come to the solo here shortly. All right, so out of the last or the second chorus, so we know that the chorus the second time ends on an A. The bridge goes to a B flat after that A. All right, so you have the wow, cool stuff, right? So the B flat is a whole tone higher than the A, right? You have A, or sorry, half a tone higher, a semitone higher than the A. So it's a half step up to B flat. Then we go to a C, and then we go to a C sharp or D. Let's call it a D flat. Then we go to a D flat. And then we go to a B flat minor, which I'm going to play here. And then an A flat over C. We'll talk about that chord in a few minutes. And then a D flat, E flat before the solo. So those chords are on the screen. Now let's talk about that movement of chords. I think the half step up is a typical Nik move to just get to you know what he's actually doing here is you're going to see he's building up a very clever series of key changes to get us back to our original bridge, because the bridge, oddly enough, happens again after the solo, which takes us back to the verse, and we're going to talk about how he does this. It's really, really genius. So the B flat to C, now both of those notes belong to the key of D flat, which we have as the third chord here. And then the D flat, the B flat minor, also belongs to the key of D flat. The A flat over C, both of those notes belong to the key of D flat. And then you got a D flat, and then you've got a E flat, and then the E flat belongs to, of course, the key of D flat. So we are effectively here using chords that all relate to D flat somehow. So in the key of D flat, however, you don't have like a major. The E flat is not a major, because in D flat, what's your 1, 4, 5 in D flat? It's D flat, G flat, and A flat. So he's doing a B flat here and a C. Both of those are not major in the key of D flat. But again, what have we said about all the other stuff in this track? Modal mixture. So what I would say is here that the B flat and C are kind of transition chords to get us to D flat, but they do fit a modal mixture of a D flat modal perspective, where you are, you know, borrowing those chords, let's say. So really, really interesting stuff happening here. Now the chords themselves, they're pretty basic. You know, you have a B flat. Now again, said it before, I'll say it again. Stay away from the full major version and stick with a sus2. I would say a C sus2 is what you want here. Again, remember this is designed as a lesson for acoustic guitar. And then you're going to want to go to, you know, again, you can make a sus2 here if you want, D flat sus2. And then the reason why we're playing the B flat minor here and not here is because we want to get to an A flat over C chord. Now, D flat is a shitty guitar key, right? It's why almost no one plays in D flat. There are very few songs in D flat. Wide Boy, the verses are in D flat. Go-Go's, Our Lips Are Sealed, the verses are in D flat. Video Killed Radio Star, the whole song is in D flat. There's probably Tell It to My Heart by Taylor Dane is in D flat. And then, you know, I'm not talking about songs half step down that are tuned, you know, that are played in D but are performed in D flat. I'm talking about songs that are actually in D flat. So there's a few examples for you. It's a shitty guitar key, but you know, we need that A flat over C chord, and it's hard to find anywhere that I like it other than here. Now, if you've seen any of my other Nik videos, you know I've talked about these chords before, but maybe you haven't. So these chords, Nik absolutely loves these chords. This is what's called a first inversion chord. A first inversion is where you play the third of the chord in the bass. And a very easy example of this is just like the D over F sharp, where the F sharp is your third in the chord of D major. Everybody knows that chord. So you're basically just sliding that chord around on the guitar. So here you've got an A flat chord, and then you've got a C in the bass here. So if you play a B flat minor, it's a relatively easy switch to an A flat over C. All right, so you're gonna have to practice that if you've never done it before. You could just do it like that and keep that finger barred, or do it like that. All right, and then you end that sequence in the bridge with a D flat and an E flat. But look, what's happening in the bass throughout that whole bridge? You're going, or that last part of the bridge. It's a B flat, C, D flat, E flat. You're walking up the scale. Rule of the octave, right? Rule of the octave. You're just walking up the scale, those last four notes. He loves stuff like that. It's all over his music. Go watch Jonas Wolf's analysis video. I'll link it. It's all over the place in Nik's music. So what I think makes this stuff so damned interesting is not so much the actual chords, but how he uses them, right? So there's your bridge. All right, now, so out of that bridge, we come to a solo. Let's just take a quick listen again, and I'll just play that bridge and into the solo, and I'll just play over it. Fun and games at the Kershaw Ranch. So, the solo goes to F. Specifically, F sus4 to F. Now, what's so interesting about that? What's the big deal? Well, what was the last chord of the bridge? E flat. It's a whole step jump up to the F. So again, you've got these transitions that he really likes. We're coming out of that bridge, you just kind of, and it's just your ear doesn't complain when it hears that switch to the F, even though we're going to a new key here. It's so seamless that you don't even really, you notice it, but you don't complain about it, right? So solo starts off with a pattern of F sus4 to F, D flat to E flat, F, D flat. Does that remind you of anything? How about this? What was our verse? D sus4, D, B flat to C. We're just moving it up a minor third. So basically with that bridge, you know, the chorus to the bridge to the solo has taken the verse and moved it up a minor third from D to F. All right, and this again is all over his music. Again, referring to Jonas's video, you should definitely watch if you haven't. Okay. We should listen to this because there's so much going on that it's impossible for us to keep this all in our head. Now, hard to do the piano part, right? Now listen, fourth time. Oops. All right, now the fourth time, just like in our verse, remember in our verse we have right before the right before the wounded knee part. Okay, well, if we go F to D, what is that? That's 3 semitones down. What is B to D? 3 semitones down. All right. So same pattern. I bet you can guess what the next chords are, right? So, all right. So we come out of that, and then we come to a G minor. Well, what's the first chord of the chorus? E minor. So we're 3 semitones higher. That's all it is, guys. It's the same chords 3 semitones higher from the verse and the chorus. So the solo is just verse, chorus, 3 semitones up, the whole thing. So coming out of that last F to D, we go to a G minor, to an F over A, B flat C. So again, as before, you had the B flat minor to A over C, A flat over, or sorry, C over A flat over C. This time you've got G minor to F over A. Tons of chord changes here. It's hard to play bar chords like this for 3.5 minutes with thick ass strings. It's hard no matter what. Your hand is going to get tired in this track, trust me. I've been playing this song all day today. So let's just walk through or play through that solo. Then back to the bridge. Kind of fucked up the... Whoops. It's a lot easier to go to those chords lower on the neck because you got more room for your hand. I got these big ass hands. So, whoops. That's a really change worth practicing. So that's our bridge. Absolutely awesome. And that takes us back, or sorry, our solo takes us back to our bridge, which takes us back to another verse, takes us to a chorus, which takes us to the intro. So after that solo, everything that's needs to be known is already known, right? So let's just listen. Right, here's the bridge, back to a verse. And then you see the chorus repeats a few times here. Great vocal line there. And then it just fades out. So guys, that's the song. Real marathon of a video here. We're over half an hour. I'm really sorry about this. But I really hope that you do enjoy the breakdown of this stuff. I kind of geek out on this, as you can tell. But if you want to keep it simple, just download the chord pack in the description and off you go. So thanks for spending the time with me. I hope you enjoyed it. Have fun playing this song. If you have any questions about this, anything else, song requests, you want to do a lesson, that would be wonderful. I don't talk about this very often, but channel's demonetized. I put that info at the end of all my videos, but it's a 100% demonetized channel. If you could throw a few bucks to the New Mexico School for the Blind and Visually Impaired value for value model, I would really appreciate that. $5 is better than no bucks. So do what you can. If you can't do anything at all, I just hope you enjoy these videos. I enjoy making them. So guys, best wishes, and really look forward to seeing you again in another video. Thank you so much.